There's a moment when you realize nobody cares how hard you're trying. I had that moment during my very first internship. I thought working in tech would change my life, that if I just learned to code, everything else would fall into place. But nobody tells you that. At the beginning, you're just another name on a spreadsheet. The world doesn't care about your effort. It only responds to your results. I still remember my first day. I got there early, shirt pressed, smile on my face. 10 minutes in, I realized nobody was going to teach me anything. Everyone was lost in their screens, headphones on, eyes locked on their code. I sat there staring at a blank screen in Visual Studio, pretending I knew what I was doing. The lead walked by, said, "I'll give you a task later." That later took 2 weeks. I spent those 2 weeks faking confidence, clicking through old commits on Git, trying to look busy while my brain screamed, "You don't belong here." That's what imposter syndrome really feels like. You're not dumb, you're just directionless. Nobody explains anything. Nobody tells you what to study. Nobody guides you. It's like everyone expects you to magically know everything. Back end, front end, databases, deployments. And when you finally ask a question, they say, "Just Google it." Then came my first real task, fixing a bug in a reporting module. I was excited. I thought, this is it, my moment. But when I opened the code, it was chaos. No comments, no structure, just a maze of logic. I spent my weekend trying to understand it. Monday morning, I showed my fix to the senior dev. He looked at me and said, "Man, you broke the entire report." I wanted to disappear. That night, I took the bus home in the rain. My reflection on the window looked like a stranger. I kept thinking, did I make the right choice? Am I even meant for this? Online, I saw happy developers talking about 6-figure salaries, remote jobs, freedom. But nobody showed this part, the confusion, the silence, the loneliness. I was stuck, working all day, studying all night, and nothing was changing. It felt like running on a treadmill, exhausting, but going nowhere. And then I learned the hardest lesson of my life. No one's coming to save you. Not your boss, not the company, not your college, not the government. If you don't learn to stand on your own, you'll fall, and nobody will notice. And it's not just about coding, it's about mindset. I spent months waiting for recognition, waiting for someone to notice my effort, waiting for a raise, a compliment, anything. It never came. Because the corporate world is simple. You either create value or you're replaceable. When you finally accept that, something changes. You stop acting like a victim. You start acting like the owner of your story. But back then, I didn't know that yet. I was about to learn it the hard way. One day, my manager called me into his office. He said the budget was tight. They needed to reduce the team. Translation: the struggling intern goes first. I left that day with a box in my hands and a storm in my chest. It felt like the end, but it wasn't. It was the beginning of everything. Because in that moment of failure, I made a promise to myself. I will never depend on luck again. I'll become too good to be ignored. That was the day the real journey began. The start of what I call the silent hell. That phase when you study, work, and sacrifice. And nobody sees you. But that's exactly when transformation happens. If this story resonates with you, know that you're not alone. No one saw what I was doing. While my friends were out drinking, I was at home, studying. While social media showed beaches and vacations, I was watching videos on software architecture. Not because I was special, but because I had decided that if the world wouldn't give me a chance, I'd build my own. In the beginning, I didn't even know where to start. The internet was full of ultimate roadmaps, courses, boot camps, tutorials, all promising to make me the 6-figure dev of the future. But deep down, I knew that was just marketing. So I did something simple. I grabbed a notebook and wrote down everything I didn't understand. What is REST? How does a backend talk to a database? What is a transaction? Those dumb questions, they became my roadmap. I stopped chasing hype. I ignored React, Docker, Kubernetes for a while. and I went back to the absolute basics. I spent weeks just understanding what actually happens when you type a URL in the browser, how a request travels across the network, how the server responds. The more I learned the fundamentals, the more the world started to make sense. That is when I realized something nobody tells you. The gap between a mediocre dev and a high-paid dev isn't the language. It's the depth of understanding. I got into a routine. I woke up at 6 a.m. every day, worked a random job just to pay the bills, and then from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., it was code, code, and more code. It wasn't glamorous, just repetition. I built CRUD applications from scratch, created APIs just to test performance. I started treating GitHub like a public diary, a digital trail of who I was becoming. Nobody saw it, nobody clapped. But inside me, something was shifting. I was starting to think like an engineer, not just a task executor. And here is something nobody teaches. The market doesn't reward the fastest learner. It rewards the most consistent. While others jumped from one new framework to another, I stayed. I kept refining the same project, breaking it, rebuilding it, until I understood every single line. That is how I learned what really separates junior developers from seniors. It is understanding the why, not just the how. After months of this cycle, I landed a new job, a mid-level position at a small company. This time, I entered differently. I wasn't there waiting for someone to teach me. I was there to observe, absorb, and solve problems. Instead of complaining about legacy code, I documented it. I built a wiki, the kind of thing everyone says they'll do, but never does. I automated tests, improved logs, and simplified deployments. And one day, my manager looked at me and said, "You seem to understand this system better than most people here." It was the first time anyone had said that to me. But the truth is, the real change had already happened. Inside me. Let me tell you something most devs don't want to hear. If you want to be well paid, stop studying for exams and start studying for war. The global market is a war zone. No one hires you out of pity. They pay you because you solve problems others can't. So I stopped memorizing frameworks. I started learning how to design scalable systems, think in terms of performance and cost, and communicate my ideas clearly. Because yes, communication matters. You can be the best coder on earth, but if you can't explain what you do, you'll stay underpaid. Nobody pays for what you know. They pay for what you deliver. And that's where most developers get stuck. They study too much, but apply too little. They're masters of tutorials, but strangers to production environments. I decided to change that for myself. I joined open source projects, even if I failed. I applied for jobs I wasn't ready for, even when the rejection hurt. Every single no made me colder, sharper, and stronger. One day I got a message on LinkedIn. A company overseas wanted me to take a technical test. The challenge was intense. Microservices, message queues, JWT authentication. The old me would have frozen up. But this time, I was ready. I delivered it in 2 days. Clean code, tests, and documentation. A week later, a message came through. "We're impressed. We'd like to move you to the next step." I smiled, not because I'd made it, but because, for the first time, I could see the results of all that invisible work. You know what I learned from that whole experience? Nobody claps while you're building. The applause only comes when the building's finished. That's why most people quit, because they can't handle the silence. But if you can endure it, if you can keep going when no one is watching, everything changes. Because when opportunity finally arrives, it's not luck, it's accumulated competence. I wasn't a senior dev yet, but I was no longer that kid crying on a bus after being fired. Now, I had clarity. I understood that code is just a tool. The real asset is you. And with that mindset, I took the biggest leap of my career, applying for a global position, competing with developers from all over the world. And that's when everything changed. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to prove I was good enough. I just was. I still remember the feeling, like it happened yesterday. It was just another Monday morning. I had sent my last technical test to a US company, and then the email arrived. "Congratulations, you've been selected for the position." That was it. The line that separated who I was from who I was becoming. Working for an international company had always felt impossible. I used to watch others talk about dollar salaries, freedom, remote jobs, and I thought, that's for people born in the right place. But it's not. It's for those who decide to become too good to ignore. I didn't have a fancy degree, I didn't have perfect English, I didn't have connections. What I had was consistency. Remember those nights of failure? The time the lead said, "You broke everything." The bus rides in the rain. The silence of no one noticing your effort. All of it built me. Because success doesn't come from motivation. It comes from being tired of staying the same. Here's what I learned. No one's going to give you permission to win. You have to take it. Through effort, through failure, through persistence. The world respects results, not excuses. While most people say it's impossible, you must stay busy proving them wrong. If you want to become a high-paid dev, stop chasing shortcuts. Learn what really matters. You are not paid for the code you write. You are repaid for the problems you solve. That's the difference between good and irreplaceable. Let me tell you the 5 things that truly changed my life. 1. Depth over hype. Learn the fundamentals so deeply that no framework can scare you. 2. English is a tool, not a trophy. Don't wait to be perfect. Speak, write, fail, daily. 3. Negotiate your value. The market won't pay you what you deserve, only what you demand. 4. Build a presence. Your GitHub, your LinkedIn, your portfolio. It's your story in public. Leave digital fingerprints that scream growth. And 5. Be reliable. The world can hire anyone, but it remembers those who deliver. The truth is, none of this is about technology. It's about mindset. The moment you stop acting like an employee and start thinking like the owner of your path, everything changes. When you see rejection not as a wall, but as training. When you realize that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. No one's coming to save you. But maybe that's the best thing that could ever happen to you. Today, when I open my laptop and see time zones, Sao Paulo, London, New York, I think about that kid years ago, scared, insecure, alone. He thought he needed luck, but all he needed was endurance. Endurance against discouragement, against comparison, against the need for instant results, because consistency beats talent, and silence builds legends. You know what real success is? It's not the dollar salary, it's not the title, it's not the applause, it's looking back and realizing you've changed. That fear became discipline, doubt became method, and failure became fuel. That's the kind of success no one can take from you. Maybe you're in your own silent hell right now. Maybe you're working hard and nobody sees you. Maybe you're wondering if you should quit. Let me tell you something. This is the phase that makes you. Every great story starts in the dark. But what defines your ending is whether you stand back up. No one's coming to save you. But you can transform yourself. And when you do, the world will have no choice but to notice. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that helps you build not just a career, but a legacy. See you in the next one.